Can the artist's way really take me from burnt out author to bold creative in just 12 weeks? Join me week by week as I navigate my way out of the creative void. I just finished recording, and of course, I don't know why my hair, I promise you, I brushed my hair, but there's like a strand of hair like this in the whole recording. I'm not going to record it again, so I apologize for that. But yeah, I thought I brushed my hair properly, but clearly I didn't. Anyway, let's start the video. Can being aware of your creative blocks gives you the tools to protect yourself from those creative blocks? Keep watching because this week we recover our sense of self-protection. I have to say this chapter was a lot longer than all the other chapters, but I think it was like super juicy in telling us about those dangers that can happen when we try to approach our creative endeavors. So these are generally the known addictions, right? Alcohol, junk food, sex, drugs, obsessive relationships, overworking, and Julia tells us that all of these addictions can become blockers of our creativity. Led by fear, we probably sometimes use this to numb ourselves or to procrastinate or to avoid confronting the blank page or the blank canvas or the me having to go to do some rehearsals into the theater, anything like that, right? Like you always blame it. You always have this other thing you can blame of why you're not doing your art. Julia clarifies that obviously all these things in and of themselves are not inherently bad. However, abusing of any of these can actually bring us a lot of problems. I guess for me, it's like, I love watching reality television and eating junk food. Like, I love that. And I do know it brings me that very straight dopamine hit, but then it makes me feel really bad because I feel tired. If I eat too much salt, my eyes are puffy, and then I don't have the energy to do the art, right? So yeah, it's one of those things that I'm kind of like trying to quit. Okay, so now that we are aware of these potential blockers, we can identify them as the U-turns that Julia mentioned last week. And when we identify them, Julia believes that they kind of stop being as effective as before. And Julia says, like, when we are aligned into our creativity and creativity can just flow through you like that, you kind of see these things, but they're not this crutch that you're trying to use. I have to say, like, but every single person would have one of these, right? Julia also expands on workaholism as an addiction of that gets its own chapter and paragraphs. So, and I think this is very true. Julia reminds us that workaholism is like the only addiction that gets kind of almost rewarded by society, right? If you're working, it makes other people see you as responsible, self-sacrificing, you're so committed. And it's almost like always encouraged to be seen as that person who does all the work. However, when working too much becomes a problem and it's stopping you from living your life, maybe it's something that you're using to avoid yourself, to avoid your spouses or your family, or to avoid taking accountability of other things that you need to do. So in this section, Julia invites us to ask ourselves how much time do I actually dedicate to fun that doesn't have the purpose of being productive or unadulterated. Like, what am I just doing for fun? And I have to say, I don't think I do a lot of things that I feel like they're for fun without, even sometimes with my kids, right? Let's go to the museum, but because it's like you're learning as opposed to something just fun for the sake of being fun. Probably if for me and like for our family, it would be just like, oh, let's just paint or draw or something like that, because there's no pressure in it, for it to be in an exhibition or anything like that. You just do it. So yeah, let me know in the comments. What are some of the things that you actually do for fun? Because I don't know, I might need some new ideas. In the book, Julia actually gives us a quiz to measure whether we're falling into workaholism. And I have to say, I fared pretty okay. One question, though, particularly got my eye. It says, I prioritize my day to include an hour of creative work or play, seldom, often, or never. And I have to say, for me, anything that is artistic comes after I've done everything that is like I have to do. Maybe I actually need to prioritize and find a way in my calendar, where am I gonna, when and where am I gonna do this art, if it is in the home, or if you need to find another physical space, maybe like a couple of hours during the weekend, going to the library to write or something like that. So in this chapter here, Julia makes it she makes sure to differentiate when we're actually happily working towards a goal versus workaholism, right? So sometimes you can be maybe doing a painting or something and you can't stop, right? Like you physically can't stop. I don't care if it's 1 a.m. I'm just so in the zone. I'm gonna finish it. I'm just gonna keep on it. And I think that's the difference, right? Workaholism, you're not gonna feel that joy or that happiness that you're like doing the thing. Whereas if you suffer for it, if you resent it, maybe that is the workaholism happens. Uh, she says here in the book, for a workaholic, work is synonymous with worth. And how many people do we not know, and even probably in our parents' generation, where, yeah, they definitely measure themselves by like their work, and even their identities was super tied to like their work. I think us millennials were probably a little bit more aware of that, and we have done so much uh, work in terms of mental health that we're probably very a little bit more aware that our work is not necessarily our identity. So noting that this book was written in the 90s, I think back then that was the flavor of the month, right? Like women trying to have everything and trying to prove themselves in a maybe more male skewed um market. Maybe you had to bring the workaholic, right, to prove yourself that you were just as good as your male colleagues. And yeah, probably for men this is the same thing, right? Because a lot of their identity is tied to their work. I guess even today. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Am I too crazy to think about this? Okay, so tell me in the comments. Yeah, what generation are you, and do you still feel tied to your work? Like, do you still feel that your identity or your work defines your identity, or have you been able to separate it somehow? For me, like when I started writing, I used to be a corporate worker that wrote children's books on the side, whereas now I'm an author that works in an office on the side, even though that's where I spend most of the time. But you know what I mean. Julia gives us the perfect antidote for workaholism, and that is boundaries. Being able to set boundaries for yourself, but also for your work, right? Like, you know that you're not going to take a call from work at 10 o'clock. Is this a culture of your company? Or is this a boundary that we need to start checking, and maybe it's something that you might need to enlist the help of friends or talk to other colleagues if this is something that happens to them, and even maybe have a conversation like, hey, I really want to support the company, but I also have things to do outside. I know it's easier said than done, especially if we're introverted and it's difficult for us to ask for help. I completely understand that it would not be easy, but this is what Julie says, to check our boundaries and to check how we are making sure at establishing them. And even boundaries the other way around, right? If you put some time in the calendar for you to do art from, I don't know, Friday night from 6 to 7, don't go for drinks on Friday night to 6 to 7. Do your art, right? Go to the art class, or get your headphones, get your laptop, go to the paint studio, whatever it is that you need to do. The boundary is kind of both ways. So boundary for you, but also how you do the boundaries for other people. The chapter also mentions, I guess I would say, 3 really big stings when it comes to art. The first one is drought. And Julia says, just like in nature, we may have periods when we have dry seasons,
and when we are just really struggling to produce any art. But yeah, so Julia says here that if you're in a period of drought, this means that probably you have lost your faith, and that like the antidote is to stick to the morning pages. She doesn't promise us that it's going to be quick or that it's going to be easy, but the morning pages are going to be the thing that are going to be able to lead you to the other side once the drought ends. The next thing that she talks about is fame. It says here, fame encourages us to believe that if it hasn't happened yet, it won't happen. Of course, it is fame. Fame is not the same as success. You have no idea how many times I felt like, or even I still feel it sometimes, like, oh my God, no one knows who I am. No one knows I've written 6 books. Like I sell 1 book a month. Like no one knows about me. Um, and it's not like I want to be famous. I want to be successful. But then in the art world, it's like, well, do you first get famous or do you first get successful, right? But she says here, fame is a spiritual drug. I really like that term, spiritual drug. So according to Julia, fame takes us away from focusing on our art and to focus on the applause instead. And I think, yes, this makes so much sense, right? Like even in the last chapter or the last couple of chapters, she was talking about how sometimes wounded artists produce art with the eye to the audience as to what is the expectation of the audience. So in this case, fame can have the same effect. The antidote for this, she says, is to go and write and paint and dance or whatever is the art that you do, to go and actually like do it instead of focusing your attention on the fame of the other person. And again, because this book was written in the 90s, like I wonder with social media, how much can we use fame to show our art, or do we need to show our art to be like famous, right? Then the last thing Julia talks about is competition. Look, they say comparison is a killer of joy. And look, this is true. And Julia is kind of reminding us that. She gives the example of like, well, when you go to like a high school reunion or get the high school newsletter to see where people are up to, and you see somebody being really successful, and it really stings you because it's like, how we came from the same school, like we're the same generation. How is this person doing so well and I'm not, right? And this is where comparison is going to start hurting you. Now, according to Julia, comparison is only going to poison your creative well. And the antidote here is just to remember that that comparison is coming from your ego, and your ego wants a success, it wants it now, and the ego is driving that anger, not necessarily your higher self or creative your creative self. So yeah, here Julia kind of goes into reminding us that it is okay to do like a bad piece of art, because maybe from that bad piece of art we can get a really good one. Now onto the tasks. There's one where you have to write down the addictions of what we said earlier, so sex, alcohol, money, junk food, etc. So we have to write them down and put the little pieces of paper in a little envelope and then just get them out. The one you draw, you have to write five ways in which those addictions have impacted you. And she says to be on the lookout for, like, if you get even the same one, to still write five different ones, but then what is your reaction to getting which one? So am I getting, maybe I get the money one and I'll be like, oh, uh, I know this is like the one that is in my Achilles heel, right? And now for the check-in.
Okay, so today is a check-in of week 10, recovering our sense of self-protection. And I'm just going to read the questions so we can do the check-in. How many days this week did you do your morning pages? Has reading your pages changed your writing? Are you still allowing yourself to write them freely? I think this week I only did it 3 times, mostly because I keep forgetting. So I just wake up and like do my thing, and then it's like, oh, I forgot. Like it's not such a top of mind as it was before, if that makes sense. Because I don't honestly know what to write. Sometimes I just start doing affirmations, but this time I'm doing like affirmations like, Why am I so skinny? Why am I such a good writer? Because apparently that helps your brain find the answer to those questions. So I don't know if this is more TikTok manifesting woo woo or if it actually works. But I've just started trying it, and yeah, let's see how it go. Did you do your artist date this week? Let yourself do an extra one. What did you do? How did it feel? I'm just gonna show you what it was. So today I'm in my artist date and I am coming. This is like a bit of a weird one. I'm coming to the opening of. Hang on, let me just turn my maps. I'm coming to the opening of a new road. It's actually called the Westgate Tunnel, and they've been building this for like ages, right? And I think they are opening it to the public. You can walk it. It's 2.5 kilometers, so it should be like about a half an hour walk. But I've always been super interested in those big buildings, big projects. This one is gonna have millions of cars every day, so I think it's really cool that the government is organizing for people to walk it to see what it looks like before we can ever walk it again. So I think this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. And yeah, there's like heaps of people. Okay, there's lots of people there, so I think this is where I have to go.
That's exactly right.
Okay, I hope you can hear me because there's like a lot of music and a lot of people, so that's the sad part. And yeah, let's see how long it takes me. And I love the voice to say, you're making history because you're the first person, one of the first people to walk it. Okay, so this is like the entry. I love this type of textures. So yeah, like so many families. I'm kind of feeling a little bit bad because I feel like I should have brought my children. But I don't know if they would have liked the idea, but I think they would have liked to be here. But yeah, maybe next time. We didn't go all the way. Like I thought I was gonna come out at the other end, but they just make you turn back at a part. But yeah, I was able to take a couple of pictures. I finished and it's pouring rain, and I actually got a medal because everybody's getting a medal, so it's probably the only medal I will get. No, I got when I was about 10 for gymnastics. Anyway, I'm gonna go because it's raining and I don't want to get sick. I hope you enjoyed my artist day. The third question is, did you experience any synchronicity this week? What was it? No, and I'm not gonna go and over explain. I didn't. Okay, that's it. So if anyone knows how can I break the spell of not experiencing synchronicities, yeah, let me know in the comments. Were there any issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? Describe them. I think for me this week, probably the main thing was that I was like still recovering, so I'm still having like headaches and light sensitivity of sorts. So I had to go to the doctor, and I think, yeah, probably I haven't been in the right state of mind to kind of like put this as a priority, if that makes sense. Yeah, but in saying that, I feel like it's it's almost like a like I'm getting used to having to think about planning a new artist date, and I feel like it's something I wasn't doing for myself before because it takes time, right? Like it takes time to plan, it takes time to figure out what to do, how much can you spend. Like here, Melbourne is a very expensive city, so sometimes even a small outing, it's like $100 at least, right? So it's like trying to find those activities that are affordable, but also close by, but also uh, rain maybe friendly. I don't know. So yeah, it's just that like that logistics issue. But I feel like I'm kind of getting used to start thinking, hey, what do I want to do this week?
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for watching. And if you're liking these videos, please remember to like, share, subscribe, get the book in the description. Remember, if you click in the link below, I get a small commission at no extra cost to you if you buy the book. And if you're doing this along with me, please tell me in the comments, what was your biggest takeaway this week? I think it was really juicy, but I know I've been saying that from from all the other weeks. See you next time, because next week we're recovering our sense of autonomy. Bye for now.